Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us at Tech Takeoff to this session, Take Enterprise Application Management Further with Microsoft Graph. My name is Joe Lurie. I'm part of a team known as the Microsoft Intune Customer Acceleration Team. We're a smaller subset of the Customer Experience Engineering team. And I'm here with my good friend, Danny Guillory. Danny?
Hey, how you doing? My name is Danny Guillory. I'm a product manager on Intune, responsible for enterprise app management, configuration manager, and a few other things.
All right, let's go ahead. We're going to start talking about enterprise app management. Specifically, what we'll talk about in this session is we're going to give a little intro to EAM. For those of you that might not have seen it yet, we're going to navigate EAM within the Intune Admin Center. But then we're going to get to the meat of this session, which is overview of Microsoft Graph and how you can use some of the Graph calls to manage your apps in enterprise app management. Danny's going to walk us through that. So first, a quick introduction to enterprise app management. We released Enterprise App Management about a year ago because our customers were telling us that application management, we have to package the applications. It's too time consuming. It takes too much effort. You have to download the executable, package it, find what the install command, the uninstall command, see if there's any requirements for the application. How do I know if that app's already installed? So now I have to find the detection rules. It's tedious. It's clunky. So what we did is we created this larger catalog of applications. These applications that we've created, or this catalog that we've created, has these applications that are prepackaged. They have all that information on it. They have the install command, the uninstall command. They have the detection rules. They have the requirements. So what we've done is, instead of you having to find that installer, download the installer, research the install and uninstall command lines, we've gone through, we've done all that work for you. When we take a look at what EAM is, EAM allows you to spend more time administering your devices, your endpoints, securing your endpoints, reduce the time and effort it takes for those administrators, for you to package applications, to track those updates. Oh, I think I heard that this application, App A, has an update available. Let me go and download that installer. Let me find that install command. Let me supersede, repackage, reassign. We've reduced the time and effort for that. So we've streamlined application management. We've reduced security risks and vulnerabilities, and we allow you to stay current with updates. Again, we have this comprehensive app catalog. We have hundreds of applications, and that's just the beginning. We've been around building this catalog for about a year. We're going to keep adding applications to the catalog. And what we've added recently, I said EAM's been around for about a year. Maybe 7 months ago, Danny, I think we created this guided upgrade experience where the apps that we've downloaded into the catalog, if there's a more recent version that the ISV has released, we'll go ahead and tell you about it and allow you to upgrade those apps. You don't have to, again, download those updated executables. You don't even have to just hear by happenstance that that application has an update. We'll go ahead and do all that for you. So when we take a look at what that looks like within the Intune Admin Center, this is where our customers mostly will spend their time managing EAM. But I talk to customers all the time as part of my job, and about half of my customers never launch the Intune Admin Center. They do everything that they can through Graph. And so what Danny's going to show you in a few minutes is how to do that through Graph. But before that, for those of you that haven't seen EAM yet, we're going to take a look at EAM. We're going to take a look at it within the Intune Admin Center. Again, just really briefly, because the meat of this is within Graph. So we wrap the application, we add the application into your tenant for you, we add the silent install commands, we add the silent uninstall commands for those apps that you do want to uninstall. We add those detection rules, we add everything that you need for that application to install on those endpoints. Once an upgrade is available, again, we tell you about that. I'm going to stop showing the slides. I'm going to just get right into my Intune Admin Center so I can show you what that looks like. So I'm in my Intune Admin Center right now, and I'm just at the home page. But when I go into my apps, I go into Windows, you can see I've already packaged a lot of catalog apps. I'm going to do that through my add, and I'm going to add the Enterprise App Management or Enterprise App Catalog app. Select, and you'll see right away this whole catalog opens up. And because there's hundreds of apps, And they're alphabetical. So you can see start with numbers, and they're alphabetical. And you can see we have from different third-party vendors, and I've only gotten down to the B's and the C's. If I wanted to download, I'm actually going to look at like something like WinRAR, which is W's. So instead of scrolling all the way down, I'll take a look at WinRAR. When I go to say, I want to install WinRAR, the next thing that EAM is going to say is, which version of WinRAR do you want? What language do you want to install for your employees? I'm in the US, so I would naturally install English x64en US. But if I'm a global company, it's quite possible that my users in Italy or in Germany or in France also need this. Right now, I'm just going to show you when I look at this, I have my architecture, the version 7.0 to actually keep that in mind because that's going to be important in a few minutes. And then I can go ahead and select this application. And again, we've done all the hard work. What's the name of the app? What's the description as the ISV calls it? What's the version of the app? And I'm not going to go through all of these, but you can see we have the install command, the uninstall command. I'm going to just jump over to our requirements. Again, if this is an app that requires Windows 11 or requires Windows 10, at least version 1809, then I can go ahead and change that here. If it's an app, most of our devices have the necessary disk space and RAM and processor to run modern apps. But if there is an app that requires a specific amount, or if my devices are older, then I can go ahead and list all that here as well. And again, those detection rules. So I'm going to stop here because I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I want Danny to be able to have time to go through his graph calls. But I also wanted to show you, as something I said earlier is, we tell you when an app has an update available. So when I come back over to my apps blade, right here in the main portion of my apps blade, I can see here Enterprise App Catalog apps with updates. And I can also see here all these apps, and I probably do want to update these apps because there's an update available for a reason. But when I come in here and I look at these apps, I can see, for example, that WinRAR that I was just showing you how to install. I was showing you version 7, but the version that I have available now for my end users to download is 6.24. So instead of repackaging 7 and then going and playing with my assignments, I can just say, you know what, WinRAR, I'm going to update, so I can see here the update, and I want to update all my devices that have received 6.24. I'm going to go ahead and supersede my package. I'm going to push down that update. As I supersede the package, again, app version 7.0 is now available here. Again, these are all going to be the same, so I'm going to go next, because I want to get to the supersedence. Because it's possible that you really don't want to supersede. You want both of these to be available. We think you want to supersede this application, so this app will supersede this app. But maybe, again, I don't want to supersede anything just yet. I do actually want to do it as a separate package. Do you want to uninstall the original version of WinRAR? Yes, I do. Remember, if I say that, I need to make sure that my uninstall command actually works on the original package. Go back to my supersedence. I'm going to say no on this for right now. And I go next, assign it, and next. And so this is how we manage apps within the Intune Admin Center. What we're here to talk about today, though, is instead of going through the Intune Admin Center, I want to go through Graph. For those of you that haven't seen Graph yet, or don't even know what Graph is kind of the back end of Intune. And what Graph allows you to do is gives you programmatic access into all that Intune information, whether that's inventory on an endpoint or whether that's, again, app install settings or progress on an endpoint. It gives you programmatic access into the endpoint. The same Intune admins with the same RBAC that can do things, or role-based access controls that can do things within the Intune Admin Center can also do things in Graph. You need the same permissions. The easiest way to do this is I press my Shift F12 on my favorite Edge browser. I get to my developer tools, and you can see from this little screenshot, you can see as I start working in the Intune Admin Center with my Edge development tools showing, I can actually see the graph calls or the graph that's being called in the back end, and I can then bring that to my, to my favorite Graph Explorer, whatever I'm using to run those graphs. So you can see here, I'm going to the same namespace. I'm going to go ahead and run these same commands. Danny, now that we've seen how all this works in the Intune Admin Center, why don't you show us how it works within Graph?
All right, cool. Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it. All right, so let's go look at some. I call it just nerdy stuff. Let's go look at some nerdy stuff. So if this is where Joe left us off, right, pressing F12 to go see the command that's in Graph to basically see what we're looking at, let's dig in a little bit more. So to save time here, I just pulled up some PowerShell stuff. So if you can see the screenshot, or if you press F12, you're going to notice there's a specific path for the graph. So here, just to save time here, and I did my execution, semi-execution policy, I use the beta APIs, so, or the beta graph command, because all of the graph commands for EAM are still in beta right now. And then I basically connected to. So once I connect, then these commandlets become available. Now, take this with a grain of salt. I am not a PowerShell genius. I just know how to use my feature. So basically, I did an invoke graph command. So here, this is a command that I'm running, line 35. Let me make that a little bigger just so everybody can see it. So this is me messing with the catalog. When I say messing with the catalog, I just want to see what's in the catalog. So a lot of times I'll get asked, Danny, how many apps in catalog, things like that. So this is kind of the things I do for customers and myself. So I just run this command. As you can see by my comment, I don't think this is helpful. This command, it runs great, and there is data, but you got to understand how to start teasing apart the data, I guess is the right words. So here you can see the command on line 35 and 36 are the same, but line 36 is just shortened it up. So if I run this same line 36, I'll get the same results that I just had. But now I want to start using some variables. So here I'm going to run the command, and I'm going to save it as a variable. So if I run line 39, I get some stuff stored in variable, but now I need to process the variable and convert it to a JSON. So once I convert it to a JSON, bada bing, that's how I can see everything in the catalog. Stop. Control C. There it is. All right, finally. All right. So anyway, that's basically the big rundown of everything that's in the catalog, but that's still kind of not helpful enough. So you can see all that. So one of the things that I put up here is these are the properties that'll come back, right? We'll share all these properties about each application. And if you've used Graph before and wanted to create applications, you're gonna need the ID of the application. So you'll need the ID. So if I just close this and go back and say, hey, let's look at that. Invoke the graph command. And here in this line 43, you can see I have product ID, product display name, package auto update. That's all the variables I'm going to get back, all the properties I'll get back. And then I save it to a specific file on my device that I can actually see and use later. But I don't want to just select those properties. I want all of the things. I want all of the things of the things. So I'm going to run line 44. And run line 44. Now I got probably the most useful thing. Let's go see what we got. So if we open Excel, open a blank workbook, let's just say I want a data page, get data from a file, and here, guess what? I just output it as a JSON, so now I can import it. All right, cool. So now I picked import a file, so now I need to find that file. So I know I put in a C colon, temp, there's the file. So now Excel is going to ask me about some stuff. All right, so this is all the fields a part of the data of the JSON. So here, I'm just going to choose some columns, the columns I actually care about and want. There it goes. So I'm going to select everything except key. I'm going to get rid of the first two columns, 3. because I want idea. Basically, all of this is the information I got back from the export. So hit OK, I hit close and load, and I'll wait while my computer crunches and crunches and crunches. There we go. All right, so here's a data set that I got to use. All right, so now that I have the data set, now I can do some really cool stuff. So the product ID, I got the value ID. So the one thing I like to do is sort this, so I can sort it from A to Z. And now I can basically see all the different products inside the Enterprise App Management Suite. So this ID is basically the publisher ID, but if I wanted this specific version of Blender, I would use this ID to actually submit the graph call and then add the app to my tenant. So that's some stuff that you guys can play with. Really cool things that I'll save for later. You can create really cool pivot tables off of this, filtering, counting the different applications for a publisher and things like that. I'll save that for later, but that's some pretty cool stuff you can do. All right, back to graph though. So now that I got all of the apps exported into a readable format that I can maybe pick and choose from, because maybe I got some automation or something set up. Here you can go back, and once you get the apps added to your tenant, so if you want to see, hey, what apps are in my tenant? So if I run this command, you get a list. So there's different ways you can output this to. You can do output grid view, and it'll pop up a different grid. But if you just leave it the way I just have it here, you'll just get this output. So I like to clean it up. So what do I actually care about? I care about display name and ID. So if I hit this, run this command, I'll get a much better view of what I'm looking for, especially if I don't want to do output grid view. And these are the applications I added already to my tenant. So if this has happened quite a few times where, hey, how many EAM apps do I have? What apps do I have? Things like that. You can come through and select and run this command, and we'll output it all in it. Another thing, again, mentioning covering what I just mentioned of how many apps. So if you run this command, make a variable, come here and hit count, and I can see a part of my tenant. I got 19 apps. Now, some of you larger customers and customers that use a lot, you may have a lot more, but it's a good way to say, hey, am I getting good use out of the feature capability? Once you dig into, are you using it enough? For me, I think like the value I would use is I don't have to package anymore. Joe mentioned it before, and I've mentioned it many times when I presented before. EAM, I think, is biggest value add that I would use for myself, as well as I've heard other customers. I save so much time packaging. Sometimes these apps can take 20, 30 minutes, even longer to package, even at the simplest. So then you wind up creating automation because you drop some exe in a folder, or INI file in a folder, or MSI in a folder, and then you create some automation to look at what's there, package it, create the Intune win. All this stuff still takes time. So just from a straight perspective, EAM will help you save time. You can also add on other layers that may fit within your organizational requirements. So like some really cool stuff that I'm not going to show here because, again, I'm not the PowerShell and graph expert, but if you've got a team that deals with automation, there's multiple different value adds to this, right? Just having it available, having things available in graph, now you can then start comparing to and mapping to other capabilities. So if I was a customer, what I would recommend would be, hey, I have my team go figure out how do you connect the EAM app to MDE, right? And start pulling different signals. That should be some things that you should be looking at Copilot to also do for you also. There's a plethora of opportunities if you've got the right team and the right skill, especially when you have graph. I'm not the expertise on the security area, so, but I do know they have graph, right? So if I was thinking about outside the box, being proactive in my, and how do I continue to layer on value from this, connecting graph with multiple other services, whether it be Microsoft or other services or not, I think is a total value add and something you could do today. I mean, just think of it just straight for your inventory, right? Take your inventory, put it down somewhere, whether it be Excel, data, whatever you want, and then find a way that you can connect that information. And now you can really start on real good scales of economy related to graph and the different data that you can get, not just from one service, but from multiple services. Other than that, that's about it. I mean, there's so much I could show here, but this would be like 2 hours long, and I'd be fumbling probably a little bit more than I like to. But anyway, there's lots of really cool stuff here to do once you got your graph and can see stuff. And if people want more stuff in graph, feel free to create a request. Feedback would be great. I'll be at a few conferences coming up, so if you see me and you have things that you want, like, feel free to reach out, grab me, pull me aside, and say, hey, I want X, Y, Z. I'm definitely happy to improve the feature and the capability to suit needs.
That's awesome, Danny. I love the way Graph is just making lives easier for our IT admins. And I know a lot of admins are using Graph today. And so I love that we're integrating all that. One question I have for you, though, you mentioned in the beginning that the Graph is still in beta. So when do we think it'll be out of beta? Do we have a timeline on that yet?
No timeline yet. We had planned to try to get it out in beta early this year, but we had some other things prioritized. So hopefully soon, but we'll see. We got a few other things we need to knock off the table first. But the beta's still good enough to use. I would use it if I was customer again. So no issues with the beta right now.
Great. And the other thing I just wanted to mention is, even though we sped up that demo just a little bit, the whole demo, I think, still only took about 10 to 12 minutes, including downloading the apps, opening Excel, getting all the data ported into Excel. It was very quick. So it's a great tool to use, and it's very quick, an easy way to, as Danny said, if you have automation or if you're building automation, it's a great way to do that with enterprise app management. What we saw in this session, we looked at what is enterprise app management. We just wanted to show you what it was, remind you if you haven't seen it yet, show you how to use enterprise app management through the Intune Admin Center and through Graph. If you want to learn more about EAM and learn more about using Graph, we have these great videos. Some of them are Ignite sessions, or they're AMAs that we've hosted. You see the Developer's Guide to Microsoft Graph, which is a great video, and Intune Devices and Apps API Overview Microsoft Graph, which is on our Learn page. So take a look at these resources when you get a chance. I gave you nice, easy, short links. Take a screenshot, because obviously they're not clickable, but nice and easy. You don't have to look at the entire links for these. Thank you so much. Danny, any final words?
No, not really. I mean, I think I gave enough. I think I gave enough to go out and do a lot of good stuff. So go for it. If anybody does have questions, concerns, comments, thoughts, feel free to reach out. All my contact information is somewhere on this document.
I have one more final word. Actually, you had mentioned that if people have feedback, if they have even apps that they don't see an app in the catalog that they think not only they could use in the catalog, but maybe other companies within their segment or their sector, their lateral, go ahead and give us that feedback. And we'll put it on the screen here. aka.ms/Intune feedback is the best place to enter that. Danny will get access. He'll be alerted when that feedback's up there, and we'll be able to action it. We don't know what apps you need if you don't tell us what apps you need. Again, it's aka.ms/Intune feedback. I want to thank you all for joining us, and enjoy the rest of Tech Takeoff.